inflation has gotten out of control in the last 4 years. House prices, eggs, groceries, gas, electricity, nearly everything you buy costs more. World debt has exploded. The money supply has increased. Both the ECB and the Bank of Canada have started to cut rates. However, there is something you are not being told. Prices are not set to get cheaper if you are following the traditional path. There is, though, a way to hedge your purchasing power, which we will touch on. I'd like everybody to
That's
check
the cost of
this
living
out.
crisis. Suddenly we went up from prices being around there to prices being there. And you don't really see that in this data, OK? Because inflation is really just measuring the difference between that and that. And if you look at those two lines, you're talking about a 2.3% change. That's the number we're talking about today. But for a lot of people, it's not about that. It's about the difference between this and that. And when you look at the difference between this and that, that's 20%. And I think that's the dichotomy here between these inflation numbers where it looks normal and this, which is really not normal at all.
There's a couple of things going on here. Number one, they target the 2% inflation rate, which we saw at the top of the chart, and that is something that they are very proud of, that they have come back to. However, that 20% increase, that's really what's going on, what people are feeling. Over the last couple of years, the US national debt, it has exploded. It's at $34.8 trillion. It's just adding about $1 trillion every 100 days. But I want you to check out this. This M1 money supply going back to May 2020. Billions of dollars, it absolutely just jumped up and has gone sideways. We are seeing this all around the world. This inflation chart for Australia, if we go from 2020, where the global economy is shut down, inflation has gone up and to the right in a percentage change, about 7%. M1 money supply has doubled as well, which means they printed a whole lot of money if we go back to 2020, from $970 billion to 1.6. Natural gas, same thing here. This is up about 50% from 2 to 3, and it keeps going on. Average price of eggs, September 2020, 1.35, and we're about nearly 3 here, more than a double. Gold price, we can see that is up and to the right. This is moving into the harder assets. What we've seen with the medium sale prices of the household in the US, they've gone up from 320,000 to over 420,000. Residential property prices for Australia, they've also gone up and to the right. We see the same chart there. So we are seeing a couple of places around the world, they have started rate cuts. We're going to dive into what this means, because with rate cuts, if they come down, it's a sign that something's not going quite right. As they bring the rates down, not 100%, but it's very likely that they start printing money again. And we may see what we just saw through all these charts. Let me just flick through really quickly. Up and to the right, everything getting more expensive. This may happen again if they do bring these interest rates down to near zero and then start money printing. So the ECB has done it. Canada has done it as well. They have lowered its key interest rate to 4.75%. It's the first rate cut since March 2020. Over here in Australia, the RBA Deputy Governor has taken a different stance at the moment, same as with the US. Currently, I do expect rate cuts still, and we'll dive into it, but Australia is not ready. The Reserve Bank's Deputy Governor, Andrews, says Australia remains on its narrow path, which has worked to get inflation down without the same scale of job loss as some other countries, such as Canada. The ASX gained across all sectors. I would like to ask that average person out there, do they feel like everything's gotten better, that everything is under control, that this narrow path has worked? For me personally, I don't think so. I have not felt that. Everything has gotten more expensive over time, and I believe it's going to continue to. That is if you're saving in your national currency, whether that's the Australian dollars, the Canadian dollars, the US dollar. If your money's in a bank, in the last year, Wells Fargo, 0.15%. Chase, 0.01% interest they're paying. In the last year, Bitcoin has gone up over 141.3%. So this is the way to be able to hedge yourself. The banks, they're not giving you money. Bitcoin's outperformed gold, silver, real estate. It's going to continue to keep going. If we look at the 4-year chart, for Bitcoin can be a little bit scary. We came down from about $6,000 up to about $70,000, where we are now, $69,000, and it came all the way back down. Bitcoin is very volatile, and this is why people, especially the mainstream media, knock on Bitcoin so much, because it does have these wild rides. However, we're going to get into a couple of reasons why Bitcoin is a superior asset and how it will protect yourself, your family, your purchasing power now and into the future, because money printing is coming. They're going to continue to keep sending it higher. This is probably a good way to see things. Carl, if you bought $7,000 worth of Bitcoin a decade ago, your stack would be worth $1 million now. Let that sink in. The Wall Street Journal, I've got about 6 seconds to play this 5-minute clip, and I have reposted it there for everyone. Just a real quick shout out, everyone watching live, watching the replay. If you haven't already and we vibe, hit subscribe. Wall Street Journal, thanks very much, Simply Bitcoin, for posting this.
If you bought one Bitcoin in 2019 at $4,000, it'd be worth over $70,000 right now.
The video goes on and they do talk about the price decline there as well. I'm being very selective what I am showing, and I acknowledge that. However, Bitcoin is not about getting rich quick. It's about stopping that slide towards getting poor slowly. The inflation rate, 2%, that chart that we have seen, it doesn't mean, I'll bring it back up. I shall bring it back up. It's probably the easiest way to be able to see it, if I can find it here. This chart up and to the right, because inflation's coming down, does not mean that they're going to wipe out this 20% increase. So everything, it's not going to get cheaper. It's going to stay at this price, or it's going to continue to go up over time. And that is my thoughts in regards to the matter. Look back, depending on what demographic you are. House prices 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they're all cheaper. Everything was cheaper. Remember sitting around with your grandparents? Back in my day, a can of cola, it was a penny. It was a nickel. It was 50 cents. It was $1. Everything, because they continue to print money, increase the money supply, is going up and to the right forever. Super easy just to buy, stack, and chill. Easiest way to be able to hedge this. One, it's not advice, but for myself, I buy, I hold, and I save it for the long term. As Bitcoin's purchasing power increases, and I believe as the money printing happens, I believe that's going to start in September this year. That's up to you to do your own research. As that happens, we're going to see Bitcoin go through that parabolic rally, which we saw in 2020, 2021. It's going to outperform everything, but it's not about the short term. This is about your long-term future. We're all, if you're earning fiat currency, you're saving, maybe a way to approach is just save 10% in Bitcoin. Hold that for your retirement or a couple of years out. You only need to hold it for 4 years on average for it to double in price minimum. But if we saw 10 years ago, $7,000 over $1 million now, Bitcoin is superior. And we're seeing this game theory starting to play out worldwide. I'll show you that in a sec. I'll show you this now. The reason why Bitcoin is taking over is it works, it's permissionless, it's fast, it's cheap, it settles as a bearer asset within 10 minutes. Yesterday, somebody just moved $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin. It cost him $100. This is why nations are getting it. People are adding it onto their balance sheets, which we'll get. I'll bring it up. Semler Scientific, this new company, they're following what this company, if you're not already aware, I'm sure most people are, MicroStrategy, putting hundreds of millions of dollars and then billions of dollars into Bitcoin. One of the best performing stocks on Wall Street. They really saved their company. Now, Semler Scientific is also doing the same. They hold 828 Bitcoin and have a plan to buy $150 million more. We see the country of El Salvador buying, stacking, and chilling, adding Bitcoin onto their balance sheet. We'll dive into what Russia is doing as well. They may be following a different strategy. But companies, hedge funds, high net worth individuals, the everyday person who does get onto a Bitcoin standard, who takes the time to understand what this is, they know everything will get cheaper priced in Bitcoin, but if you're holding currency, everything is going to get more expensive. Real quick shout out to today's sponsor, the Bitcoin Way. Before we get too far in this video, if you need any help mastering your self-custody, your Bitcoin stack, Tony and the team, 25 years cybersecurity experience. I've got a video dropping later this week with Tony, just in the final edit at the moment, diving into his story, hedging, what happened in Lebanon there. The team cares. All they want you to do is to be able to protect your generational wealth, whether that's setting up an air gap wallet and a node, helping you purchase Bitcoin KYC free, privacy meshes, inheritance planning, multi-sig cybersecurity, so much more. With what's going on in the world, they can help you get a second passport for yourself and your family as well. Safety Moose, the author of the Bitcoin Standard, also endorses them. First 30 minutes is free, no obligation. You can have a call, have a chat, make sure everything is safe, you're doing the right thing. They can hold your hand, they can find the flaws. Link top of the description. Block height, 847,260. We are still stuck under 70,000 US dollars at 69,782. Good deal today. So Bitcoin, all-time high, about $74,000. We're at $69,000 and people think this is too expensive. When we zoom out, say 2030, if Bitcoin's at $1 million, 2030, 2032, nobody knows the future. It's all really a guess until it happens. $69,000 for one Bitcoin. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy $1 worth and you get 1,433 Satoshis. It's about having a long-term time frame, looking out into the future, saving now. Savings should be for a rainy day. They should be not to spend right now on a Bitcoin standard. Gets cheaper. The 69,000, pretty interesting level. If we have a black swan event, it may come down to the $58,000 level. I'm sure that would make plenty of people happy. I think at this stage that's more unlikely going into the election cycle. What I believe is more likely is Bitcoin goes up and to the right. We smash through 80K and then 90 and then 100K in pretty short order. And I believe this is going to happen over the next 6, 12, 18 months. I believe it's going much higher, but we won't dive into price predictions. Any speculation, it will be what it'll be. And here's a word of warning. Bitcoin and crypto are two separate things. Very, very different. We have seen Forbes acknowledge this as well. They release a good-for-nothing blockchain list. So if you are new into the space, new to Bitcoin, welcome. Well done. There's plenty of books you can read. Parallel's a really good one. B is for Bitcoin is a really good basic understanding on the foundations of Bitcoin. And start to learn the difference between Bitcoin and crypto. These crypto things out here, there's a million coins. Maybe there's 100,000, maybe there's a whole lot more. They just make things, and what they're designed to do, in my opinion, is to take your Bitcoin off you, put it in their pockets, and give you these worthless tokens. Now, Forbes has released this list. According to Forbes, the blockchains below are unproven, have little utility other than speculative crypto trading. We have seen a lot. We're going to dive into GameStop, GME as well, what happened with that. But people are really feeling this cost of living. It's a very serious issue and people are struggling. And when that happens, people start to make irrational decisions. We just need to slow down, stick back to first principles, lay a solid foundation. That's why I'm a huge advocate of reading the books, getting a grounded level, understand what is going on in the space, how Bitcoin can help. But the point is, a lot of people get into the space, they hear about Bitcoin or they hear about all these Dogecoin, XRP, Cardano, or whatever, and think, oh, it's so cheap. I'm just going to buy some of this because for $100 I get more units of it. And it's a little bit of a Unispot. And what happens is a lot of these rug people, they take their money and they do nothing. And if you want to play that, that's a speculation, but it's like buying lotto tickets. It's gambling. Whereas if you're buying Bitcoin, it's very similar to buying gold. However, it's gold supercharged. It's turbocharged. It's the world's hardest asset, the world's scarcest asset to ever exist. You can't make any more of it, which is why it will continue to go up. and to the right and outperform every other hard asset on planet Earth. So just to name and shame a couple, these are definitely some to stay away with. XRP #1, that is the biggest psyop. The community is really interesting. They've really got a bit of a mind virus going, in my opinion. But Cardano, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, ICP, Ethereum Classic, Stellar Stacks, Casper, Theta, Phantom Monero, Weave, Elgarand, Flow, Multivex, Bitcoin SV, Mina, Tezos, EOS, and the list goes on and on and on. If we go over here and then we go back to CoinGecko, you can see all of these, it's just the #1. And the pages go on, 147 pages. Now, that's not everything that's out there. But let's have a look if it loads. It's not loading because we shouldn't really be wasting any of our time. But Bitcoin is #1. It's the only one, at least for myself, that I do concentrate on. For these reasons, they are good for nothing. They're a speculation. They're a tech play for some of them. However, I'm after creating and preserving generational wealth. You do you. The world, obviously the inflation narrative that is going on, people are really upset with Federal Reserve over in the States printing huge amounts of money. The Federal Reserve differs from the RBA here. The RBA is owned by the Commonwealth of Australia, which is one good thing. We'll give them credit where credit's due. The Federal Reserve is a private institution owned by private entities. JP Morgan, the bank, JP Morgan Chase, is the largest shareholder of the Federal Reserve. People want to shut them down because the Federal Reserve, he who controls the money, controls the world. These people, whether it's insidious or not, we'll take the tinfoil hat off. They've printed an exorbitant amount of money in the last 4 years. It's put pressure on everything. We've seen it: eggs, gas, groceries, electricity, nearly everything that you buy in your day-to-day life, directly or indirectly, has been a result of the money printing from the Federal Reserve. People are fed up. It's enriching the current elite more and more, so people are trying to shut it down. One thing, what happens? Does the US go to something like the RBA and own by the American government, which would be the go? We see it looks like one of the presidential candidates is looking to do that. But before we dive too far into how the world is healing, there's games going on within Bitcoin, and I want to bring this up for a couple of reasons. We're stuck under $79,000 at the moment. Wall Street's buying billions and billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin over the last couple of months, really since the start of the year. I think they've had now 15 days of inflows. They're not slowing down. People are wondering why Bitcoin hasn't absolutely pumped. We had James check on lead on-chain analyst for Bitcoin, check on chain. He dived into it. BlackRock, Wall Street, everyone, they only make up 20% of the market at the moment, but also they are playing games at the minute. So there are $12 billion, Oliver Valise. There are $12 billion of Bitcoin shorts, up to 74,000. Wall Street firms are short big time. This is not necessarily a bearish play by Wall Street, by the way. It's likely part of the fiat games played to hedge risk and gain a premium spread. It involves selling Bitcoin futures, paper Bitcoin, while simultaneously buying spot Bitcoin to capture the spread. I did things like this for many years as a trader, but let me make a prediction. You can bookmark and save for the future. Bitcoin is going to bankrupt one or more of these venerable, bigger-than-life Wall Street firms that have come to play their normal fiat games on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a different beast, one that does not play by the rules of the system because it's totally outside of the system. No one has ever played these games with Bitcoin in the past is alive today. Mark my words and stack harder. A little bit of food for thought, and I take solace in that. Bitcoin not at 100K, it's a breather. I get to smash the buy button. Smash it on the weekend, I will be smashing it today, making the most of this opportunity. And even though I've been buying Bitcoin nearly every week for the last 4 and a bit years, I'm still buying it now because it is the best performing asset, and at 69,871, it is still cheap. So you do you. But that's me. And there are so many people out there, when we have these wild swings, they panic. They react. Maybe they bought Bitcoin at $74,000 and it came down to to the low 60,000s. They panicked, it's back at 69,000. Maybe they buy again and it drops down to 67. They sell. Don't play those games. It's just, for me at least, buy, stack and chill. Hold long term, get as much as I possibly can. Dollar cost average at this stage of the market is the best strategy for the most amount of people. That's just whatever sum, whether it's $100 a week, $1,000, $10,000 a week, a month, whatever it is. If you're in Australia, please do note though, some of the banks will limit you to $10,000 a month. It's bloody annoying. Shop around with your bank, max out one move to another. If that's you, if you are going into it, people think that's a lot of money. Long term, that's $120,000 a year. It's really not much. It's just over one Bitcoin here in Australia. And that time, it's running out. Bitcoin's going to continue to be more expensive. But in whatever way you can get as much as possible, may be a good idea to study and start to understand why it's going up forever and how it will protect you. And we're seeing the world really wake up. Trump, he's been so negative against Bitcoin in the past. And now he's reaching out to Jason Lowery. He is the author of Soft War. He is in the Space Force. I can confirm that I've been reached out to by folks from Trump's campaign administration about you know what. I told them I'm ready and willing to move to DC if called upon. Trump is working alongside Bitcoin Magazine's David Bailey as well for a Bitcoin crypto strategy. The world's starting to wake up. We saw a lot of FUD a couple of years back when Bitcoin peaked. It was because of the ban in China. But Daniel Baden, Bitcoin mining was never banned in China. P.S. Anyone recall who was the first outlet to incorrectly report it? And he had a bit of a thread on here. We might be able to bring it up shortly. There's a lot of fear around Bitcoin. The price starts running really quickly. Mainstream media attacks it. We get these corrections, these pullbacks. Those are the opportunities. And we're still in that opportunity. It's going up. But I'll see if I can find this really quickly. There's a bit of a thread that he did. In the comment section, I'll bring it up. I can't find it while I am live. My apologies. But basically, China, they're good with it to a certain extent, obviously not using it to escape capital controls, but to be able to mine it, it's beneficial. El Salvador, they're mining Bitcoin as well. This is totally off kilter, but Russian President Putin confirms BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are developing its own independent payment system. BRICS is working on our own independent payment system, free from political pressure, abuse, and external interferences. So this, the president of Russia, saying that the money system is broken, it's not fair, there's a lot of abuse, external interference. Whatever you think of Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, put that aside. That message there is 100% fact-based. The fiat system, Australia, UK, anywhere where you're earning money, it's not backed by anything. They print as much as possible. We've seen that. I believe we're going to see it again. So opt out into something that can't be tampered with is my opinion. It's I will repost that at Sean Clark 911 if anyone would like to watch it. There is a translation over the top in English for everyone. Now, rest of the world's waking up. Jawed, I will get on the show. I will message him today. When people start to understand Bitcoin and really understand it, there's this race to get as much Bitcoin as possible. And that's why I talk about it every day. When I buy Bitcoin, I'm not selling it back to you. That Bitcoin you're never going to get. And I know maybe that sounds a little bit harsh or whatever, but you've still got an opportunity to be able to buy Bitcoin at $69,886. It's still cheap, and people like Jared here, he's doing everything he can to get as much Bitcoin as possible. For sale, 2019 McLaren 720S located in Dallas, Texas, 3.5 Bitcoin. We see Gary Cardone selling his real estate portfolios for Bitcoin, stacking as much as possible. And it's not due to hope. It's due to a solid understanding that hard assets, whether it's gold, silver, Bitcoin, real estate, are going to continue to go up. With property, like here's a really good way to be able to see it. Property prices, they go up, they come down a little bit, they go up again. But each time they're stair-stepping higher. Same thing with Bitcoin, it's just going to do it on a bigger scale. And people say, oh, I'm just going to use gold. Okay, gold's been pretty okay as a store of value for the last 4,000 or 5,000 years. Hasn't really kept up with inflation over the last 40. Put that aside, if you're holding gold, you're doing okay. You're storing your purchasing power. There's nuance to it. With Bitcoin, you're increasing that purchasing power out over time. So, I don't know, maybe get some just in case it catches on. What you do is up to you. When you do come into the space, or you've been here for a while, you know that games are played. People pretend that they are Satoshi. There's this Australian guy, Craig Wright, has basically been found guilty, and he should be paying the plaintiff's legal bills after found posing as Satoshi, Copa says. When people do this, there's greed associated. Pretty interesting character. We won't dive into it too much. I guess the point of bringing this up here, Craig Wright, or we had FTX last year, don't trust in different people. Within Bitcoin, there's a saying, don't trust, verify. That means reading the books, looking at the blockchain, running your own node, being your own bank, protecting the Bitcoin network, putting in the proof of work. It's really easy to be able to do. And you don't need to listen, whether it's to the mainstream media saying inflation's under control, and then you see that chart. Oh yeah, they've got inflation to 2 to 3%, but it's gone up this much and it's not coming back down. Don't buy into the narrative. We'll see more of these charlatans this cycle. 100% expect it. Don't buy into it. And with Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, nobody knows who he is. Nobody will ever know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, in my opinion. It's so don't buy into those games. Obviously, the world is in this gamble mentality at the moment. Last week, GME, there's this guy called Roaring Kitty, Keith Gills. CNBC is reporting about it. If you watch that live stream, just quickly, just for everyone, that's the news. That's the Bitcoin news with the fast facts. Buy, stack, and chill. Inflation's getting out of control. If you are saving in fiat currency, can hedge your bets. You can buy Bitcoin over time. Just save. Don't really look at what your portfolio is doing day to day. Fiat term wise, the dollar symbol. Look at the amount of Bitcoin or the Satoshis. Each Bitcoin can be broken down to 100 million Satoshis. $1 US gets you about 1,400 Satoshis at the moment. Let that increase and look at that and make that your mission, or not. That's me anyway. So that aside, if you do that, you'll be sweet. And if there is any breaking news, make sure you hit subscribe. Tune in. A little bit of fun, a little bit of culture. Now, GME, did anyone see the video, the live stream? I think it was about an hour long, maybe it was longer. I watched about 15 minutes. The guy was so unhinged. He's changed so much. I'm not even sure, and this is total tinfoil hat speculation, a little bit of fun. Didn't even look like the same guy. Didn't sound like the same guy. So different. It probably was the same guy. He was there drinking beer, had no idea what he was going on about, has no game plan. If GameStop hits $65 per share, he'd be a billionaire. Wall Street didn't like that. They're playing games. It got holded over and over and over again. It's absolutely incredible. Watch it. It's like the most mind-numbing stuff, but just a little bit. It is pretty interesting. But it's just a taste of it. And this is why I don't speculate. This is why I do not gamble. I'm just here for hard money. And, people do real well. Playing that, it's a full-time profession. If you want to do that, learn, study. It's something that Oliver Velez does, is trade stocks. I don't know or have any idea whether he's trading GameStop. Stock. But this is usually what happens to most people. Anyway, we'll play the CNBC video.
Well, we're coming back with breaking news because the live stream has finally started. You can see that right there. About 28 or so minutes late, but nonetheless, it is underway. And we'll see exactly what's gonna happen there. Andrew Leff still standing by. We'll give you updates when they happen. You can judge for yourself what's going on your screen. So let's do some of these moves. Amazon.
Yeah, judge for yourself what's happening on the stream. So what happened is GameStop tumbles 40% as trading icon Roaring Kitty returns to live stream. I'm sure GameStop is going to pump, it's going to dump. There's going to be so many games being played. It got stopped so many times, was it on Friday? But retail trading legend Keith Gill, I believe he was a legend and he probably shot himself in the foot with that live stream, but otherwise known as Roaring Kitty or Deep F and Value aliases on social media, returned to his live stream for the first time in several years on Friday. Prior to the live stream, GameStop shares tumbled 25% in the morning hours on Friday after the company rushed out a first quarter earnings report and a 75 million share offering in wake of the large run higher in the stock this week. Couple of things. It'd be pretty interesting if GameStop adds Bitcoin to their treasury. It looks like they may end up having about $5 billion of fiat in their treasury. If they add Bitcoin, it's going to go on an absolute tear. In my opinion, it'll be what it'll be. But the 75 million share offering, it's why I like Bitcoin and I don't like stocks. I don't play around with them because they can change the rules whenever they feel like. They can decimate people. You're like, oh, cool. I figured out the rules of the game. It's absolutely fantastic, amazing. It's incredible. We're doing so well. We're up hundreds of millions of dollars. And they change the rules just like that. Game over. Your thesis is invalidated straight away. Same thing with crypto. It's all, in my opinion, a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin's truth. It's just truth, and don't trust, verify. Anyway, that's news with the fast facts. Let's jump into a little bit of a banter. Shout out to everyone watching live, watching the replay. Again, if you can do us a favor, tap, smash, caress, whatever it is you want to do with the like button, the love button if you are watching on X. Greatly appreciate that, and subscribe if we vibe. Mike, good morning. Prince of Freedom, the Price of Freedom, what a name. Good morning from Cairns. Bloody cold up here. Got to stack more sats. Price of Freedom, I hope you are getting out to the reef. It is time for the Great Barrier Reef. We are in winter. The water is flat. It is clear. And on X, I posted a couple of videos of some stingrays that I was chasing around. I was just walking in the shallows on the weekend. Took the jet ski over to the sandbar. It's pretty sweet. Like, this is a glorious time of year up here. Central Queensland, Northern Queensland. And there's a couple of stingrays, and I went to grab its tail, but it shot off. But there was 3 there anyway. Go out and enjoy the great outdoors. But Cairns, winter, Great Barrier Reef, it's paradise. Spent 7 years of my life, and I miss it every day. Look at it, and I still miss being underwater. Hopefully, you make the most of it anyway. Or not. But I don't know. Everyone, if you can, save in Bitcoin and make a pilgrimage to the Great Barrier Reef. It is a very special place on planet Earth. It's very important. Jake Thomas, g'day from Flyover USA. Shout out to everyone in Flyover USA, making the country run over there in the USA. Bitcoin Buddha, what a name. Hey, all, he's changed. Bitcoin Buddha, have you changed your name, or am I mistaking the dog photo, the cute puppy photo with someone else as well? Jake Thomas, glad to see you all smashing the like on the way in because you'll know it'll be good. Bitcoin Buddha, NP, I do it for all my favorite channels. I like this type of content. It's newsy yet pertinent to Bitcoin without all the shit. We're long enough in the stream, ladies and gentlemen. Altcoins, they are shit coins. They're a total psyop. In my opinion, stay away. If you've tuned in the first time, I refrain from swearing, at least with the news segment. When we get into a bit of a banter, hey, anything goes, and it's up to you whether you stay or not. That's your choice. It's all good. Shout out from Byron, Soul Surfing. That's a cool place. And winter as well. Those 2 shipwrecks is there as well. There's like all these little jellies at this time of year. They're about this big. They don't sting. But that's a super epic spot to be able to snorkel, and they all just conglomerate around you. It's super cool. Croc, g'day everyone. Good to see you, Croc. Saw a meme with a cheese shredder hanging next to a toilet. This is what toilet paper looks like with Build Back Better. Bidenomics, no comment. Bitcoin Buddha. Simply Bitcoin is another top tier show. Nico, Opti, and Rustin, 100%. If anyone doesn't for any reason know Simply Bitcoin, please like, subscribe, join their channel. Absolutely amazing. Super high signal, incredible banters, great people. I've had both Nico Moran and Opti on the show as well. Highly urge everyone to jump on there. OPD in the house. Eric, I saw a meme with Trump lying about everything. Go, wait, that was just a speech. It's 100% with every politician. You wouldn't trust any of them as far as you can throw. My opinion, I'm here stuck in Australia. We don't have our elections until next year, I think September 25. The elections in the US, like the most important elections globally, is the US election. Whoever you choose, whatever you do, like that's up to you. There is no red, there is no blue, there is the government and there is you. Choose the person that's going to, at least allegedly, nothing's done until it's done, give you the most freedom for your friends, family, for the country. If I was to urge anyone in particular direction there, I'm obviously biased and lean more towards one person, but really it's the government's the government. You can defund the government. It's a peaceful process. You can opt out. You can buy Bitcoin, hold in self-custody, and that's what I use as my vote. Gargoyle, g'day degens. Like, it's so funny. I love the sentiment, but every Bitcoiner is like the very opposite definition of a degen. Hey Gargoyle, how's it hanging? Too hot here to mow. Sean teaches the ethos and philosophy behind Bitcoin, the spiritual aspects, and how to think about it as a part of your life. Sean is chill. Man, truly appreciate that. Bitcoin on a Bitcoin standard, like buy stack, and like the chill just comes. Because although the world's insane, like crazy insane, like my wife was saying it this morning, she's like, everything's mad. And it has turned mad, but at least we've got hope. We've got like a solid foundation, the best foundation, monetary foundation that's ever existed in all of humanity. It's only 15 years old. It's pretty amazing. I understand like buying at the top at the last cycle and waiting all the way till now could feel like a real long journey, but anyone that went through that journey, like, well done to you. For me, my story, I first heard about Bitcoin at like $94 or $96 Australian. I didn't buy it. I ended up buying narcotics, to be honest with you. And the next week, I'm like, I'll just buy some Bitcoin. Sounds good. Same thing. Then bought Bitcoin and used it on narcotics. And, didn't think much of it until I really heard about 2019. It was about $20,000 and started buying it. It dropped down, continued to buy it, and I've been buying it ever since. So Bitcoin was way more than 200 times more expensive for me. When I first heard about it, some people hear about it at 69,000, not do anything, and they'll hear about it at $1 million. It's just a time frame thing, in my opinion. But I'm sort of going off in a couple of directions in my mind. Whether you bought Bitcoin at the last cycle high at 69,000 and you held the whole time, but that whole time you're reading it's the same book. This is a limited edition, 32 of 50. It's parallel. Like Brian, he's a good friend, but his book's absolutely awesome. He wrote another one. Like reading all the Bitcoin books, I think, where's the best way to be able to see it? There's a stack there. There's another stack. There's more upstairs. Usually I read on a Kindle unless I'm going on holiday as well. But if you've taken that time over the last couple of years to really get grounded, understand what Bitcoin is, and then you've been buying from high to low, you didn't even need to get to all-time highs to be in a massive fiat profit. But by that stage, probably just end up, I think everyone that comes into Bitcoin and puts in, say starts with 10 hours, moves to 100 hours, and then it just takes over and they understand that this is the most important thing and they're never giving it up. Those people, well done to you. It's a journey. You put in the proof of work and obviously you get rewarded for it and life becomes chill. It's hanging to the left, mate. Gargoyle, appreciate The intro, I'm waiting for a dip, Sean. Can you make Bitcoin crash a bit for us? It has. What was it, like 72,000? Last week it's at 69,000. There's your dip. That's here. If it comes back down, Black Swan event, very possible this year. Very, very, very possible this year. Incredibly possible. Similar to 2020 or not, I don't know. Black swans, they shouldn't be something that we can focus on. However, I'm not counting on it. If we have a Black Swan event and Bitcoin goes from 69,000, maybe it's at 80, 90, 100,000 at that stage, and jumps down to 50,000, I'll be buying from here to there and all the way back and in between. That's the way I do it. A dip, we got it. It's here. Even though it's green, I don't know, red, green, up, down, sideways, like it's all still cheap. That's my opinion. Bitcoin Buddha under 500,000 subscribers, then level Sean goes. I like buying. I have no idea, Jake Thomas. Bitcoin Buddha under 500,000 subscribers, level Sean goes is like buying Bitcoin at 0.1. Gold, so yesterday, it is. That video that with Checkmate last week, Friday, at the end, I asked him about his approach to gold and stirred a lot of people up, and I knew it would. Different strokes for different folks. Like gold, it's worked well in history. I sold all my gold years ago. Got a little bit of silver, not much. It's more precious, using it as a shiny rock, which it is. No, it's not in here. Anyway, maybe I'll bring some down tomorrow. But it's just like a shiny rock. You can't really send it internationally, store of value. Gold, silver hasn't really worked out as store of value for a long time, but gold, it's been okay. Increasing your wealth? No, not really. Keeping up with inflation, depends on what time scale you're looking at, but long term, it's been all right. It's okay. Central banks around the world, they're buying it. But yeah, it's got nothing on Bitcoin. And the volatility is also less on Bitcoin. So volatility is not a bad thing. People associate volatility and risk together like they're totally separate, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. But I understand, I get it, it makes sense. But Lawrence Lepard, we've got him coming on at the end of the month, about 20 days. Really, it's like on the last day of the month. And old Wall Street gold guy, hard money guy, boomer, and really sharing why Bitcoin and not gold. But he talks really reasonable about it. So I think that'll be a good thing. It's different strokes for different folks, but gold is, yeah, in my opinion, is yesterday, and Bitcoin is that new thing, and we're so early. I know it's like getting 1% with every epoch episode. We live in the matrix, so need matrix money, aka Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin pulls you out of the matrix, doesn't it? And I've got a video with Bram. We dive into the matrix. I just need to finish the sound design, hopefully today or tomorrow, and I'll drop that out a live show. Ours beef, it's what for dinner, it's what's for lunch as well. There was an old beef advertising campaign here in my neck of the woods. A mean Buddha girl with a salad on a plate walks by a man eating a steak. You killed that creature, just eat it. He said, if you would quit eating its food, it might be alive. Okay. Whether you're vegetarian, eat meat, I've gone through all that, vegetarian, pescatarian, vegan. That was the worst thing I ever did. Vegan, for me personally, if it works for you, do it. For me, I eat a lot of steak, a lot of meat. Now, going a little bit off chicken, it depends, but steak, fish, seafood, it's what I need to survive. The human body is designed to thrive on animal fats, high protein as well. So do whatever, but it's worked through human history, and it was how we got here biologically. It sort of makes sense to me to be able to follow that, but it's it's your body, it's your choice, it's your fiat, it's your choice, it's your Bitcoin, it's your choice. With Bitcoin, feel free to leave it on the exchange. That's your choice. But when these exchanges, and not all of them, but some of them are going to come crashing down, like we saw with 3AC, BlockFi, FTX, and decimate people, that's also your responsibility to do it you know, like everything's up to you. Nobody's going to save you. The government's not coming. The pension, the super, all those things may not be there. Everything in your life, every thought, every decision, where you are now, where you're going to be next week, next year, and 5, 10 years, all of that is onto you. For me to be able to do that, stack Bitcoin, self-custody, and, you know, the Bitcoin way has helped me out personally. Running your own node, don't trust, verify, and read as much as possible to understand it. But like whatever you do in life, do it. There are a couple of life hacks. Spring water is a life hack, and fluoride-free toothpaste. But again, it's your choice. If you want to calcify your pineal gland, if you want to poison your body with chlorine and fluoride, that's your choice as well. But no, everything is your responsibility. Sorry, sound a little bit preachy. My apologies. It is what it is. It's your choice to listen or not. Talk nonsense at the end sometime. The signal's at the start of the video. If you want to stay here, that's also your choice. Some swear by beets. I swear by beef. Enjoy. I actually quite like beetroot. Nice real steak, like a steak sandwich with a bit of beetroot. Let's go. Egg, beetroot, maybe a little bit of lettuce. Sort of going off lettuce a whole lot. France's French fried freaky. Okay. And the Matrix Garg, the nutrient-filled slop tasted crummy in their tummy, but they couldn't just make it steady flavored. Next 6 months will be good for us, 100%. You know, if this cycle, history doesn't always repeat, often it rhymes. That is pretty permanent. If it repeats, the cycle will end about September 2025. Will it go out further? Will we go into Hyperbitcoinization? We don't know. That's still a long way away. But between now and then, I believe Bitcoin is going to go up dramatically. And that sort of scares me a little bit, even though I've been going so hard, getting as much as possible. Do you ever have enough Bitcoin? My opinion, for a lot of us in our lifetime, Bitcoin will be the predominant world currency. And if that doesn't play out, it's still the best store of value that's ever existed. If you're saving in fear, you're going to be decimated. If you had $100,000 in cash 4 years ago, you still got $100,000. You're not getting paid any interest. You're like, oh, cool. I held it. We didn't go through this volatility of Bitcoin, but because they doubled the money supply, it's only worth $50,000 worth of stuff. Their inflation rate, 2 to 3%, is designed to take 2 to 3% of that wealth away from you year in, year out, and that's compounded. And when they start printing money, which they're going to have to continue to do due to the US debt, the worldwide debt, this fiat Ponzi scheme that is going on, it's going to continue to debase that. So it's, yeah, I don't know. The price going up, it's a good thing. It brings more people in. But if you're here now, like, please spread the message as much as possible with Bitcoin. And people don't need to buy it. But not studying the books, not understand what it is before they say no, that's ignorance, that's arrogance. It's probably going to destroy a lot of people. You know, if I really took the time back when it was $94, be very different now. I'm glad I took the time now. Everyone will get Bitcoin at the price they deserve. We're seeing pension fund, hedge funds as well. Well, especially the pension funds, they are buying these ETFs, so that will offset people, but it depends. You know, if you're not controlling your superannuation as our pension system here in Australia, if the government wanted to come in or tax unrealized gains or whatever it is, you've got no control of that. You can set up a self-managed super fund, super easy. I use eSuper online. You do you. Read through it. But you can buy Bitcoin and hold it in self-custody as well. So there are options to be able to protect yourself. Yo, I bought Parallel and took it on vacation at the beach. Great recommendation, Sean. How good is it, hey? What an incredible book. Glencoe, where does the Fed keep all of their money? In debasement, 100%. Those are expensive narcos. They are, absolutely. You know, so I was buying toxins and poisoning my body, my mind at that stage, and definitely not aligning with truth. And, you know, I got Bitcoin at the price it deserved. 200 times more expensive, did come down as well, but I'm still buying Bitcoin at $70,000. So, I don't know, you get to a point where you realize Bitcoin is still cheap, but you look back and you're like, finally. And I feel like we all have that feeling, even when Bitcoin dropped down to like 17,500, would have been a good opportunity to leverage. It's irresponsible. You need to know what you're doing now. In my opinion, it's not the time to be adding leverage into the game. 15,000, 17,000 was a good time. But for most people, it's that really caused a lot of anxiety, stress. It's about just aligning your fundamental values with hard money, chilling, and getting wealthier in the process and not getting poor slowly. What is the best book for someone that already knows a good amount of Bitcoin and is already a maximalist? The Genesis book, if you haven't read it already, is a really incredible one. Parallel, if you haven't read it as well. It's not sponsoring the show anymore, but it's a really incredible book in the regard of already being in Bitcoin. It's a little bit hard, but with Parallel, I guess that talks about how Bitcoin's parallel economy as like peer-to-peer digital cash and stuff, how that actually works and how to go about it. The Genesis book is just an incredibly fun read. The Hidden Cost of Money by Seb Bunny as well, but probably... So The Hidden Cost of Money, that's a really, really good book. But these two books here, everyone's probably heard of Knut's Van Home, Bitcoin, Everything Divided by 21 Million. That's a fantastic book. But Praxology, this is absolutely amazing. The Invisible Hand That Feeds You. That's a book I'd recommend. If you haven't already read it, you've been in Bitcoin for a while, you've read a couple of books. And actually, I got it. Oh my God. This is the book. If you've already read the books, Crypto Sovereignty by Eric Kaysen. It's wild, it's insane. If you haven't read any Bitcoin books, don't read it. Like, read 3 or 4 or 5 normal Bitcoin books first. Eric Kaysen is amazing, deep, anarchist, absolutely crazy. That's the book. That would be the book if you haven't read it already. It's intense. Let us know how you go. The Mandibles. I read that book a couple of years ago, just came up randomly. It's a good book. Thanks for the recommendation. I'll check that out as well. Have you read Larry's book, then Being a Maximalist the First Time, and Soft War as well, really good book. Being a Maximalist, the first time I heard Larry refer to it as Warfare was Nuances for me. Oliver, I spent so many Bitcoin and buying smokes from Moldova back in the day. Been in the Bitcoin space for 3 years now. I've never been into reading, but I'm leaning towards reading more books now. I've only listened to the audiobook of the Bitcoin Standard so far a while ago. There are plenty of audiobooks out there as well. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Not recently, been crazy busy, but as well, it's nice, especially if the author reads, it's nice to hear their voice and the way that it's been written, you know, because they're putting their internal voice onto paper and then they're getting it out there. It's incredible. But yeah, whether it's books or audiobooks, I don't know, the information out there, it's incredible. These people have put thousands of hours of research into tens of hours of reading, or some of the books, you know, you can read really quickly in a couple of hours. Also, not Bitcoin related, The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab is a really good read for everyone. You know, talks about what the World Economic Forum, what Klaus's ideas are for humanity. It's written a couple of other books as well, but The Great Reset. And then on the flip side of that, after reading that one, I'd recommend reading Alex Jones' The Great Reset straight after, and just see like the two opposing narratives going on there. Whatever you think of either people, you know, I think that's well worth going on, well worth your time. Found the Bitcoin Standard great, but a bit dry in some spots. Yeah, very, yeah, it is. He's an economist, but high signal and probably one of the best books. Fellow Red Meat Lover. You find a lot in the Bitcoin space. Mandibles isn't really a Bitcoin book, but a lot of Bitcoiners who are maxis and OGs enjoyed it. Thanks, guys. Check the books out after the live. Let's go. I'm here for it all, mate. Appreciate it. Kevin, good to see you. Habib, good to see you. Johnny Midas, happy Sunday from the California desert. Absolutely awesome. How good are the stars at night? Johnny, question, not a statement. Oliver Dixon, carnivore, understanding human body wants animal fat as fuel into Bitcoin. BASEDAF. I'll need to check out whatever that acronym means. Good to see everyone. Don't pay for Klaus' book, dark web only. What book? Like, my wife will buy, you know, cheaper books, and I never ever, you know, different books. We're focusing on different things, dive into Bitcoin or finance or whatever it is. And I never care what the price is ever. I don't believe, you know, maybe that's privilege, spoiled, whatever. I'm very humble, very blessed, very grateful for those opportunities for where I live. But I never ever worry about spending on my own self-development, and a lot of that comes from books as well. And I don't know. I truly believe, like, read the books or eat the bugs and understand what's going on in the world around us, and people can consolidate their whole lives, especially in a biography, into something this thick. I don't care if it's $50, 80. Don't really buy that many books around the $80 or $90, but there are definitely a few, and even on the Kindle, and you don't even own the physical version. But you know, you get the information there. Animal Farm, 100%, 1984. If you haven't already read it, not related to absolutely anything that we talked about here, but Ernest Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea. That's a beautiful story. Well worth it. Anyway, if you haven't already, and we vibe, hit subscribe, get the news with the fast facts. We'll have a bit of a banter at the end, and then maybe a little bit of a rant. But you're winning. You're here. You've done the right thing. Buy, stack, and chill. As hard as it needs to be, $69,800. It's a pretty bloody good deal. Just one more time. Let's see what is on the block clock. I'll bring it up. It takes a little while to load. 847,268. The exchange. Come on, let's get it. 1,435. It's a good deal. Continue to be a good deal. I don't know. Carpe diem, ladies and gentlemen. Be blessed. Peace.